Okay, at this point we have probably a little less than half the number of people who registered, so I do want to give people just a few more minutes before we get started. Let's say we'll get started no later than 2:10. 5 more minutes. Is that too long, Bernadette? You on mute, Bernadette?
All right. I know that there are a lot of competing priorities for folks today. So for those who aren't able to make it, we will make sure to send this out to them later. But thank you for calling in. For those of you who are here, the focus of today's training is going to be primarily on closeouts. This has been a relatively new thing for us in Grants Online, since most of our awards are kind of just hitting the closeout phase now. And there have been numerous questions from folks just about some of the minor issues that they've noticed with closeout, or what to do and when. So I want to make sure that we all have an opportunity to go through this together with Lillian guiding us through that, and then give you a chance to ask some questions as well, because I know that there are a lot of concerns or questions, or there's some unique situations out there. So we'll have some time for Q&A, but I want to make sure that we get through the basics of the closeout process, and also touching on reassigning tasks, kind of what that looks like, how you can reassign tasks and award files, and to whom and from whom you can do that. And we'll also go through amendments, the different types of amendments, when an amendment is required, and in general award action request processes for that. So I will now turn it over to Lillian, and yeah, thank you for being here.
Okay, so Bernadette, you're ready. You want us to go ahead and move forward, and others who can join will just join us as they come in? And that was a question, but I'm assuming that's a yes. Can everyone on the phone hear me? You guys are muted, so just let me see. Just raise your hand, or just let me know that you can hear me. I just want to make sure that I'm being heard before I move forward. And Bernadette, can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I don't think I'm not muted, am I? Okay. Are we getting anybody that? Let me. Okay. I cannot hear anyone out there. So yes. Okay. Bernadette, we did hear you. I heard you, so that's good. I just wanted to make sure that you guys can hear me. So it looks like you can, and that's good. So we will go ahead and get started. I want to let you know that this is not a real formal structure. We do have an agenda, and we're going to follow the agenda, but I do not have a set of PowerPoint slides or anything very structured. I've never actually done a webinar on closeout, so you guys are going to be my guinea pigs. But I want to make this as interactive as possible, so we will be monitoring your questions. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat box. I have Yvette on my staff here that is going to be monitoring the questions. She will bring to my attention if there's anything that I need to address as we're going through this webinar. Okay? So, to get started, we're going to start with the closeout process. And what I'm going to do is, after I finish the closeout section, I'm going to do a Q&A, a short Q&A there while it's fresh in your mind. Then we'll go on to reassignments, and after that, the amendments. So we're going to do a Q&A after each section. We'll leave it as short, about 5 minutes, but I do want to make sure that you get a chance to answer questions. Can I be here? Can you hear me? I hear someone saying hello. Bernadette is saying hello. Is Bernadette muted? I don't have her muted now. Okay. Let me type to Bernadette. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. You sending a message to everyone?
Okay. I
Okay.
signed out and came back in. What was going on?
Can you hear me now, Bernadette?
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything before. I was talking. I gave a whole intro and everything.
Oh no, we heard your intro.
Oh,
I,
great, because I didn't hear anything after that.
yes, I heard your info. We did hear your intro. So I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. So you can hear
After I
me.
call.
All right, and we just
Okay.
asked everybody if they can't hear me to send a message. So I'm going to move forward with the assumption that I am being heard. Okay? So we have now up
All
on the.
right.
We okay? We getting? No one is responding in a negative. Okay. So I'm going to assume I can be heard. And we're on the screen. We have one of our process maps. This is the process map. Excuse me, for our closeout workflow. As you see at the top, the closeout workflow basically begins with the recipients submitting their final reports, their final progress reports, and their final financial reports. You cannot really start the closeout process until those reports have been turned in. There is a caveat. There is an override function in Grants Online that allows you to move forward with your closeout process even if you have not received these final reports. But just be sure that this is exactly what you want to do. I know in NOAA we have had some situations where there have been some grantees that I guess there's been some bad issues with them towards the end of the award. They didn't submit their final reports, but we still had to close out the award, and so they were able to use this override function, and I'll show that to you in a few minutes. But in general, you want to wait for the recipients to submit their final progress report and their final financial report before you begin the closeout process. Once both of those reports are in, there will actually be a notification that is sent to whoever the grant specialist is on the award to let them know that those final documents are in. And actually, that notification may go out to everyone who is set up with the role of grant specialist within that program office, and that is because that's the way it's done for NOAA. So what we'll be doing is talking about how it's done in NOAA, how maybe EDA would want some things done a little bit differently. We'll try to keep track of those things and look into maybe some future updates of the system to see if we can tweak it a little bit to help accommodate some of the EDA processes. But right now, this is how it works in Grants Online. So once both of those reports are in, you get a notice that the reports are in and that you may begin to start the closeout process. At that point, you're going to be following the bottom half of this process map. There is no task for you to start, so you actually have to get into Grants Online, navigate to the Grants file, go to the drop-down option of the Grants file, and initiate your financial closeout first. Now, you can initiate both of them, but just know that you cannot complete the administrative or manual closeout until the financial closeout has been completed. So you can start them first in either order, but the financial closeout must be completed before you can completely close the award. The notice that you will get for the financial closeout, there is a notice that actually goes out to the recipients to let them know that that we're going to do a financial closeout. It talks about the data that they submitted. There is some language in this notification, and I'm going to pull it up on the screen in a minute because I know EDA has some concerns with that particular notification. And we will talk about, I will be in communication more with Bernadette. We will modify this language sometime in the future so that we can make it more clear to all of the recipients. I will talk to our developers to see if we can actually customize it so that EDA can have a separate notice with separate language from NOAA. But if that's not the case, we will modify the language so that it is clear what instructions are for EDA grantees and which ones are not. But let me bring up on the screen that notification. And this is the language that is in that notification that goes out to the recipients. The federal program officers also get a courtesy copy of this particular notification. And one of the things that is of concern to EDA, and I can definitely understand, is because EDA is not quote-unquote interfaced in Grants Online, so there's no automatic interface for EDA awards into the financial system. There are data fields that come up as 0 in some of our notifications and on the screen when you're going through the closeout process. That may not really be 0, but they are 0 because there's no interface and the system is programmed to pick that data up from the interface. So one of the places that is a 0 is in this particular notification, and let me see where that 0 comes out, because this is the generic language, and it will say that right here where it says amount from line question, that comes out as a 0, and we know that it's not a 0, that you actually do have data in your financial report, and we know that there's data that we get from Grants Online, but the system is not picking up that data properly. So there's going to be a 0 on this screen. And so I'm not going to go too much in depth on this particular language, but please know we are aware of the issues with this, and we will be working within the next few weeks to try to modify that. Bernadette, anything that you would like to say before you had to jump off momentarily?
Nope. Nope,
Okay.
I've got another 40 minutes until I have to jump off. So,
okay,
so far
good.
we're good.
Good.
Yep.
All right. So now let's go ahead and we can bring up a sample award. I've worked up a few scenarios, so I'm going to flip back over. Where am I? Right here. Let me flip over to my web browser and go to where I can log in to Grants Online. I'm going to log in here, and we are in our training system. So I'm going to log in as GStudent30, which is the user that I use for EDA, and this is my project officer account. And what I've done is I've worked up a couple of awards to the point where they can be closed out. But remember I told you there's no tasks when you're doing that. So I don't actually have any tasks on those awards. I need to go to the awards tab and click on search awards so that I can find the ones that I want to begin working on. And since we're actually doing EDA awards, I'm going to start with ED and do a search and see what we have out there right now. So what I want you to see is even after the award expires, it will show up when you have the award status as open. So as long as you have not actually closed the award out, it will show up in the search results with the award status open right here. Okay? So here's an award that we have expired, but we have not closed it out yet. So let me click on this one right here. And let's take a look at this. One of the questions that have come up, let's look at this. This award expired back in April. This award right here has 2 award action requests on it. One of them is with the agency. The agency hasn't accepted it yet. One of them, the recipient has just started working on it, but they have not yet forwarded it into the agency. We also have a couple of reports, a couple of progress reports. We got a final financial report. There should be 2, but for some reason the other one didn't generate, so don't worry about that. But we do have a final financial report placeholder that's not yet submitted. We have a progress report placeholder that's not yet submitted. So let's look at what drop-down actions we have at this point with the grants filed in this specific situation. Okay. At this point, the only drop-down when it comes to closeout is to begin the manual closeout, and even for that one, we would have to override the features in the background that are looking for the reports to be in. The reason why you cannot start the financial report is because we have these outstanding ASAP requests. So even if the financial reports are not in, if the financial reports are not in and the ASAP requests are cleared, we would be able to start with an override. But if there are outstanding ASAP requests on your file, you will not be able to even override the system to start your closeout. So you have to take care of whatever ASAP requests are out there. Another thing I do need to mention is that if a recipient has one ASAP request that they're working on and they need to submit another one, they can only do them one at a time. So they can't work up 2 of them on their side and submit them. They have to work one of them up, get it submitted, and then they can start working on the next one. Because if they go up here, and let me just log out and log in the recipient so that you can see this situation. I'm going to log in as the recipient. Okay, so I'm logging in as a recipient on that same award. No task in my inbox. Let me go to the awards. I'm going to search awards. Because I'm the recipient, I have a limited number of awards, so I could do it that way. Okay, and the one I was looking for was that ED 19 award. Here we are. This one right here that's expired. I'm going to click on that. And on my grants file, if I click on these are the options I have right here. I cannot even do my ASAP drawdown request because I've got one outstanding. So I have to work on this one first and take care of this one and get this one into the agency if I want to send it in. So I've already put some data in it. I'm going to click Save and Start Workflow. And let me get that here. It did not create my task. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, here we are. Here we go. Here's my award action request. Now I can forward it to the agency and submit. All right, so now if I look at my grants file, I have sent both of my ASAP drawdown requests to the agency. And the things that I could do now, these are the things that I could do on this expired grant. I can request an extension to closeout. Now, an extension to closeout is different from an extension to the actual award. the extension to the no-cost extension that extends the end date of the award should be submitted during the life of the award before the end date has arrived. So you need to get a no-cost extension before the award actually expires. And that will extend the end date of the award, and that will give the recipient more time to actually work on the project. If the project work is completed and the award has expired, the recipient can request more time to submit their reports by requesting an extension to close up. So the 90 days that you normally have after the award expires for the recipient to submit their reports, that 90 days can be extended without extending the actual award end date. You can extend just the 90 days by submitting a request for an extension to close out. So that's what this option is right here. Notice, because this award is expired, they cannot request a no-cost extension. This is the only request that they can put in terms of the dates on their awards. Before I move forward, Yvette, are there any questions I need to respond to right now? Yeah. Okay. Bernadette, do you have one that you want to ask?
Yeah, I know that it's been a common question from multiple people in different regional offices, but shouldn't the recipient be able to submit another ASAP request during this closeout period? There were two, yes. I see, but I don't see another option in the action dropdown.
Yes, and that's a good question, because they are supposed to be able to submit another ASAP drawdown request. I am trying to figure out, I don't know why I don't see that option right now, but let's do this. Let me go in and, as a grant specialist, and process these. And we'll see if that will open it up. In production, it does work. They do have the option to submit them. But this particular grant, I've got a lot of things going on with it. So let me do this. I'm going to log off. I'm going to log in as the grant specialist. The project officer. See student, where is 30? See student 30. Tasks. Here are our requests. I'm just going to quickly accept them. I'm not going to go through the normal process of getting them reviewed. But you do have your forward to director for review if you need to do that before you accept it as a project officer. And then I'm going to log off and also log in as the grants officer. And let's, is this the wrong, did I log in as the wrong grants officer? Okay, let's see where those awards went, where those tasks went. Awards, I'm going to search award, search for that award, ED, 19%, 0004, search. Okay, it went on to the ASAP person. So because I skipped the director and the grants officer review, and I went ahead and accepted it, it went on to the ASAP person. Let me go ahead and log it as
actually, Lillian, I don't know if there are any cases in EDA where the director or grants officer has to approve the ASAP drawdown request. It's usually just done by the grant specialist.
Okay, so they can accept and just do exactly what I did. Okay, all right.
Exactly.
The drop-down options are there because we have generic drop-down options for all of the word action requests. So
Mhm.
for ASAP drawdown, just skip them, just like I did, and go ahead and accept them. Okay, they're not mandatory. So as you see,
Right.
just can
Yeah.
accept.
So this is the normal process that we follow. What we see
Okay,
here, and then it would go to Roberta
I
and
did.
Teresa and all that. Yeah.
Got you. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go
Mhm.
in as the ASAP person. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that so that we can clear these tasks. I'm going to go in as Roberta, since everybody knows Roberta. She has a separate account for EDA. This is training. I don't know her real password. Whoops. And it's not Roberta, it's R. Duncan. There we go. So Roberta should have these tasks, and this allows her to go into ASAP and release those funds that they put in. So of course, normally they'd have an SF-270 attached, and I'm not doing all of those details just for the sake of time. All right, so now we've cleared those tasks. Let me log off. Let me log back on as a recipient just to see what I have now. And if it doesn't show up now, Roberta, I'm not quite sure what's going on because it should. Okay, award number ED. This one right here. What do we have? There we go. See,
There we go. Okay.
see, so it's there. So we had to take care of the ones that were in, and now they can submit another one.
All right.
Okay.
I had one more question regarding the extension to closeout option.
Yes.
Is there a time during the closeout, the 90-day closeout period, when that option is not available towards the end?
I have to check to see how close to that 90 days. I believe it takes them up close to the end, maybe a day before. But you know what? We can look at the guidance because I think it tells in the guidance. So let's do this. I want to go to the training site. I'm going to go to the federal program officers. I'm going to look at the AAR guidance right here. And we want to look at the extension to closeout, right? Control.
Yes.
Let's look. It's in the.
You have to go down to page 4, and there's the
Right here. Okay. So where is our extension to closeout?
Is that the top?
Here we go. Right here. Let's see what it says. What's this? Submitted 9 days. Let's see. It does not say. So it may be accessible all the way up to that last day.
Okay. So in cases where some of our staff have noted that it is no longer available, should they send an email to you with that award number? Because I think there have been a couple of issues. Okay.
Okay, yes, they should. Now, it may not be available on the 90th day. So
right, but like 2 weeks prior to the end.
Yes. I don't see it in here. I know the regular, one of them has a threshold that it was like 10 days or so ahead of time, but I don't see it here in the. I don't see it. Do you remember that? Yeah, I remember at one point in time there was a rule that it had to be in 10 days before the end, but I don't see that in the rules here. So maybe it was in. Let me do this just to check. I want to look at the old guidance. Here's the old guidance, and I want to look at.
Because I know it's no longer EDA policy. If it's there, that's not EDA rules. That they can't request the extension.
The old one? This is the new one.
Yeah.
I want to go to the old one. Where's, right here.
Okay.
Here it is. Okay, this is the old one right here? Yeah, this is the old one, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Oh,
because it has trans.
Right. Okay. No cost extension. Extension to close out. Don't see it here.
I've noted the question.
Okay, we're going to have to do a little bit more research just to see. It may have been.
Thank you.
It may have, here it is. There was a no cost extension. There's the 10-day rule. So it was the no cost extension that this is for prior approval waived. This is for when somebody has a research award and they want to extend their own grant because they have expanded authorities. They must submit the no-cost prior approval waived 10 days prior to the expiration of the award period. So let's look at this one right here. This is the regular prior approval required. And let's see if there's a 10-day. This one is 30 days. This is the old one, but we may be still enforcing this. No, this just says they should send it at least 30 days prior, but I don't think.
Well, and that's the performance period. That would be like a no-cost extension, not
this is a no-cost
extension to close out.
Exactly. This is not extension to close out. This is the regular no-cost extension.
Okay, well, we can look into that more.
Yes.
We'll keep going.
Please let me know if you are anywhere in that 90-day period, you have not hit the 90 days, and they cannot do the extension to close out, please notify me. Okay? All right, back on, yes. Another question, yes?
Yeah, kind of related, but what can a recipient submit during the extension to close out? I mean, I don't know if they're looking.
So once they close out, during the closeout, during the 90 days, or after they extend the closeout, if the closeout gets extended, they could submit the same thing that they could submit during the 90 days. It just extends the period of time for them to submit. So normally, let's go back to the award. That would be their progress reports, their financial reports. Here we go. This is an expired award. So these are they have all of these options. Even after they extended the closeout, they still have all of these options up until the new date. Once the closeout has extended, and we can process one real quick. Do you want to process an extension to closeout on this one?
Let's do that.
Okay, so let's do that. We're going to submit an extension to closeout. Submit. This is the request. Let's just say we're going to do a 30-day request. Put in our justification. Some language. Save. Okay, save and start workflow. Now I'm doing it quick and dirty. I'm not putting any attachments or anything for the justification. We just want to get this onto the agency and get that process to see what it looks like. So now I'm going to go in as our project officer. Look at our task. Here's the award action request, which is an extension to closeout. You can review it so you can see what it is. There's your extension to closeout right there. Okay, cancel. And you can forward to anybody else who needs to review it. In this case, it's not an ASAP drawdown request, so it does finally have to be signed off by the grants officer to take effect. But you have all of these options. You can return it back to the authorized representative. You can send it to your lawyers. I'm going to just do this just to speed up the process. Okay, should be with that. Yep. So let me log off. All right, task. All right, so currently, right now, the 90 days from the 4:30 is 7:29. This is what it is, the default closeout date. But I am going to approve this award action request and submit as the grants officer. And let's see where it went. I think it now has to go on to the ASAP people so that they can extend the date in ASAP. So they have a task to do that. But I want you to see that as soon as the grants officer approves it, it changes the date. So now in Grants Online, they have more time to submit their documents. And then Roberta and company, her staff would have to do the extension in ASAP. Once they've done the extension in ASAP, they just get back in Grants Online and clear the task. Where it is right here. Extension to close out. They know exactly what that task is. All right, let me just see something. Okay, so this is not a two-step process. It doesn't have to go to the certifier. It stops with Roberta's team. So at this point, this grant now has been extended in terms of their closeout activities. So we call that final report's due date in Grants Online, and it has now been extended by the 30 days that they put on their request. Okay?
Another question?
Yes.
Someone wants to know if they can have more than one 90-day extension to close out.
Okay, so now I have a question. Can someone do another extension to close out on top of the one that they just did? The answer is yes. So let's just see. I believe the answer is yes. We've definitely done it before. I'm going in as an authorized rep again. And let's see what they can do. Let's make sure I put in the right password here. Make sure the caps lock is off. Okay. We are going to the award, search awards, put in that EDA award. The option is there, request extension to close out, and we can process another one on top of the one that we just did. Okay?
Awesome.
Are there any other questions before we move forward with the closeout process? If not, I'm going to go ahead and log off and log back in as the project officer. No, I'm sorry, I meant to stay logged in as, let me log in as the recipient and submit our couple of our reports. And let me go, let's see, let's do this. I am now going to use the awards feature instead of search awards. 19. And I just want to submit my progress report, my delinquent progress report. So here it is right here. Final progress report. All right, I've uploaded attachments. Pretend uploaded attachments. I really didn't. As you see, we could still submit it even without an attachment. Forward to agency, submit. All right, what else is on this award? Grant file. So we have now submitted a final progress report. We still have a financial report that we have not yet submitted. But let me just show you that you now have the override option. Student.
And Lillian, can you explain what the benefit of that is and in what cases that override option should be used?
In NOAA, that override option is mostly used when there is a problem recipient that is being non-responsive, and NOAA needs to get this award closed out, but there may even be some legal issues, and they cannot get all of the final documents, or there's something that's going on, either with the grants management side or the programmatic side, that they are not able to get all of these final documents, but we need to get this award closed out anyway. That's basically at a real high level why that option is in there. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so here's our award again. Let's see what I dropped down. Notice now that we have cleared out those ASAP drawdown requests, we have both override options here. The override option is still there because we still have a missing financial report, and we have not accepted the progress report. But we are able to move forward with the closeout if we want to. Let's go ahead and accept our progress report. See what that does to our drop-down options. Again, still has the override policy. It's still looking for that financial report. So let's go ahead and use the override so you can see what those functions look like. We're going to initiate the financial closeout with the override function and submit. And the system is going to have you put a comment in. It tells you why you have to do the override. So you see right here, the final financial report has not been accepted and will be terminated. So once you move forward and complete the financial closeout, there will be no more ability for the recipient to submit their financial report. So please beware of that fact. If you start the financial closeout, but it is not completed, and you do want to give them more time, you can contact the help desk. We can pull that closeout off of the grants file so that the recipient can go ahead and submit the report if it turns out that's what you need. Okay? But at this point, we'll just put our justification in right in here. So you put some language in here. Save that. Save that. And now you can begin entering your information for your deobligation memo that's going to go to NOAA Finance. Right now, there are templates in here, mostly for NOAA, but one of the things we can do, Bernadette, and I did this just in a training environment, we can add more templates for you guys. So if you want to set up some templates with your language that you would want to put into that blue box, you can send us what that would be, and we can add those templates to this drop-down option.
Okay, I will talk to some people and see if we want to do that. Thanks.
Okay. Because right now, some of this language talks about GMD, which is, of course, NOAA's Grants Management Division. It says something about the grants management division, so this is sort of NOAA-centric. Now, we could actually make it
Right.
more generic and just say the grants managers or grants management and take the word division off, and we can make it a little bit more generic. If the rest of the language works for you, we could do that. But if you want
Yeah,
some language,
for the most part it does. I've just been modifying it
oh yeah,
slightly
and that's
to
the
make it
case.
more EDA centric.
That's that's
But
that's that's a good point because exactly this can be modified. So you could say whoever it is, whatever your region is. What would you have said? How do you change it?
I would just say EDA. I
Yes,
just said EDA received the final
there we
425 and
go.
authorizes this.
So
Yeah.
that's a good point. You can just take the template and just make a minor modification, and it's easy to go ahead and use the language.
Mhm.
Okay. Again, here is where those zeros are going to show up, because and we specifically say, it's not interface, available for only, so that's why these are coming up as zeros here. It won't affect you from being able to move forward, but it will show up on the screen as zeros, even though the data may not necessarily actually be zeros. Another thing I want to point out here is on this award, the application came in for $200,000. We only obligated half of it, and the system does not force you to obligate the rest of the money before you close out. If that's all you're going to give them, that's fine. You can still close out the award. So the system is not looking at what's on the application to see if you've actually obligated it all. All right, so if there is some kind of a reconciliation issue, you could click this check mark, and this will force a preliminary review in NOAA Finance before the final review. Without it, normally it'll skip that extra. Let me show you this step. Let's go back to the process map to see what I'm talking about. Right here in the white box, this preliminary review. That review can be skipped if, for instance, they drew down all of their funds, and so it's actually all zeroed out. They don't need that preliminary review. Okay? Let's see where we are. Let's get back over here to Grants Online. I'm going to click Save and Start Workflow. Do you have any other questions? So far, so good? Okay. All right. In this case, I think because of that issue with EDA showing up as zeros, not being interfaced, we cannot skip that preliminary review. See, I don't have a way to skip that. Let's go back again to the process map. Well, it does allow me to forward it to the director. Let me take that option. I'm going to say forward to director, submit. Yes. So you can forward, you have the option to skip the preliminary review and forward directly to the director. Okay? Let's see where we are here. Let's look at the closeout. Let's see who has it. The official. Let me log off. Oh, that's right. We messed up that account. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to reassign that task, and we will talk about reassignments a little later. But you get a chance to see it here in action. This is the person I want to have the task. If they don't have it, it went to another person. So I'm going to task management. I'm going to go in as a director. I'm going to put that award number in, which is ED19. What is it? What was that award number? Yeah, we could try that. I think you have to put the whole one in here, but let's try it. 0004. Let's see if that'll work. No, it doesn't want to do it that way. Let me try official. Search. There's the task. Okay. So it did come up by using the last name of the person who has the task. All right. I'm going to reassign this task, and I want to send it to the other person whose last name is official. Okay. There's two of them in here. This is the one that I want to send it to. Yes. And if I go to task, I now have that task. So I just as a director, the directors and grants officers, anyone with a director role or a grants officer role, they can reassign tasks within their office amongst people within their office. So now we're going to go ahead and, of course, they can view it, but we're just going to go quickly and approve. And now let's take a look at where it is. It is now with the grants officer. So let me do that. So we're just following this workflow. Let's go back to our workflow. We've done this step. We've done this step. We're now on step 17. All right, here is my deobligation memo. I'm going to review it, and then I'm going to approve it. Submit. All right, let's take a look again at our process map. We have completed this. It's now got to go through any ASAP steps. If there's money left, it would go through the ASAP steps so that they can deauthorize and deobligate the funds. But in this case, let's see what happened. Let's go to our grants file, because I believe, yep, we're done. So notice, because there's no money left, it went ahead and it automatically closed out. Go to the grants file again. Who am I logged in as? I am the grants officer. I want to log in as the project officer. Any questions, Yvette?
No.
All right, let's get our award back. And let's see what status we have on it right now. Okay. Here is our financial closeout. We have our override that we did. We completed it. Here's our financial closeout right here. Here's that extension to closeout that we had done earlier. But the financial closeout is now completed. I want you to look at the status of the grants file. It has now changed from just plain expired to expired-deobligated. Okay, so that lets you know if you see a status like that on your grants file that the financial closeout has been completed. These are our drop-down actions. Now you have your manual closeout and override GMD policy. Again, that is because we never got our financial report, the final. But look at what happened. Once you did your financial closeout, the workflow was terminated and nobody can work on it anymore. So let's go ahead now and go through what we call a manual closeout. It's also known as an administrative closeout. Submit. Same thing, same issue. And you would just go ahead and put in whatever your justification is and submit that. Once you've done that, you get this checklist. We're actually going to be working on this particular page in the next release, and so it's going to look a little bit differently. Bernadette, the one that you reviewed, that's what's going to be in the summertime. After our July 12th release, it'll have those new questions. Some of the questions are the same.
Okay.
Some of them are just kind of reworded, but it's a slightly different, it's going to be a different list But the concept will be the same. It'll still have the yes, no, and NA radio buttons for each question. So that's what you do. You just go through these and, answer them as appropriately, whatever makes sense. I'm just clicking any button right now. All right. If you need to add attachments, remember the attachments widget will not appear until after you click Save. So you have to click Save first. Once you do that, then you have the ability to add whatever attachments need to be added to your closeout workflow. Save and start workflow. Forward it on to the grants officer. EDA. And they now have a task to review the closeout checklist so they can look at it. They can return it back to the project officer if they need to, if they have any questions, or they can take a final action to close the award. Okay? Once we close it, this is the end of the line on that award. I'm going to go back and navigate to the grants file. Notice the status is now closed. If I look up this award, on the award, search awards tab, if I put the award in, search, it will not show up because I still have it in the open feature. If I change it to closed and search, it will now show up. So it doesn't go away. You can still get to it, but you got to make sure that you set your filter the proper way. So now we have a closed grants file. The attachments widget is still available for you guys. So you can still, even after the grant closes, add attachments at this spot. This is now what the grants file looks like. It says closed here. All of these are done, approved, completed. Anything that was on here that was not completed at the time of closure are going to have this phrase, terminated upon closeout. Okay? And let me see. I believe you were, we had a requirement for you to be able to even update. Yes. So you can update the special initiative codes even after the award is closed. That was part of the requirement that you gave us, Bernadette. Are there any other questions on that process that we just went through? I do want to let you know that there is indeed a manual underneath the, let's go back to the tab for the training sites. It is under the grants management resources, under the user manuals down at the bottom, award closeout processing. That's this manual right here. And it goes over the financial closeout and the administrative closeout, but it also goes over those override options too. Okay. Are there any questions on the closeout process? Let's see what our agenda said. I want to make sure that we hit. Did you know I had the agenda in another spot? I think I have it over here. Any questions, Yvette?
Nope.
All right. Well, hopefully it wasn't because it's information overload. Because I know that was a lot of information, but If you look through here,
Yeah.
we do have, screenshots for just about everything I did. Here's our process map, and it takes you screenshot by screenshot through all of those various options that I did. So I think it's a pretty good manual. It is, of course, NOAA-centric to some degree, but it's the same process in Grants Online between NOAA and EDA. What you may not see in here, because it is NOAA-centric, you may not see forward to director in the drop-down options because we don't have any directors at NOAA. But other than that, it should take you through the process that you need. Okay?
Someone just put in a question.
Question. Do you want to read it to me?
It's a long one.
Oh, a real long question?
Okay, if you close out a grant and the recipient needs to pay back funds, can you provide some oversight on that?
Okay, good question. If we close the grant out, completely close it out, but the recipient still needs to turn some money back into the agency, they have to do it. They're going to turn the money back in outside of Grants Online anyway. There is no feature in Grants Online for the recipient to send money back. So they would just send those funds back to EDA. In Grants Online, there's not going to be any workflow, but you can get whatever documentation that they provided to the NOAA Finance Office. And remember, I told you the grants file is still available with an attachment widget on it. So you can still come to the grants file, open up the attachments widget, and add any documentation you want to add, even post-closeout. But there's no feature or workflow in Grants Online for any activities post-closeout at this moment. One of the things we are looking to develop in the future is something that will allow some interaction with the recipients after closeout. That was to accommodate EDA construction grants. I'm not quite sure how much we're going to do now because most likely we're not going to be adding construction grants into Grants Online. But if it's still a feature that's needed by EDA, NOAA does have some sort of a need for that. So we are going to be working on some kind of a feature that will allow some post-closeout interaction with the grantee. But we have not yet really gotten into the details of what that's going to look like. Okay? Any other? That's it? Okay, hopefully I've answered that question. So we're going to go ahead and move on to reassignments. There's a lot of different ways to reassign, and I just showed you one, but I'm going to try to go down through the agenda that we have here. So the first thing I just did, first thing on the agenda is actually what I just did, which was reassigning a task using this feature. Let's see, who am I logged in as Grants Officer? This feature called Task Management. This feature is available to those with the role of Grants Officer and Director. I believe, I'm trying to remember if the federal program, so the grant specialists and federal program officers, because you guys have both, as a project officer, you may be able to do this too. But on the grants management side, it is really only the grants officers and directors that can use this task. And basically, it does allow them to move tasks. It does not reassign ownership of an award. This is only to move a task from one person's inbox to another person's inbox. Okay? So I'll do another one. Let's see if we have anything out there that I could do. But let's see. I'm going to go in. I'm going to say the task is in some grant specialist inbox. And let's see. What do I name the grant specialist? EDA. I need some part of their last name. Student. In fact, I'll do this. I'll put in 30 because this is the person that. Okay, so here's some tasks. There's a bunch of tasks in this person's inbox. So as you see, we've got the award number, who owns it, and what they do is they just figure out which task it is that they want to reassign, pick it up, Now they have another box to search for the users that they want to pick from. I don't know if a regular generic search. Okay, so you got to put something in here. Let me just put in, I'll put in STU, see if we have. All right, so right now I don't have that many people set up in EDA, so I can only reassign it back to myself. But in general, that's the process. They put in a search criteria, they pick up the task, they'll get another search box to search for who to give it to. Once they decide who they're going to give it to, they select that person. They will get a "Are you sure?" question that you want to reassign the task, and they say yes, and then the task gets reassigned. Of course, in this case, it was the same person, so there was no change to the ownership of the task, but in most cases, it would just move from the inbox of the person it started into the inbox of the new person. All right, the next one is reassigning applications during minimum requirements. And I do believe, let me see, let me log off. I need to log in as my project officer. All right, let me first see if I have a minimum requirements task in my inbox. I don't, but I do have an award that's set up to get to it quickly. So I'm going to go to this RFA that I created, 2019. All right, so this demo right here, I've got some awards. You see I've got a bunch of awards set up here that they're just in the system, but there's no workflow on them. So I'm just going to pick up the next award. It's all filled out. It's got data in the award. So I'm just going to click Save and Start Workflow so that I can get a minimum requirements checklist task. All right, so here's my minimum requirements task. At this point, I have a reassign application option. So before you even do the checklist, or even if you look at it, okay, even if you do the checklist, or just look at it and don't do anything and cancel off, you can still reassign the application. So at this point, unfortunately, I don't have anybody else set up. So I don't have anybody in my drop-down list, but I could probably show you in as a NOAA. Let's see if my NOAA person has one that can do it. Let me try this one. See if we have a minimum requirements task in here. Just so you can see a bunch of PO checklists and conduct negotiations. No, unfortunately, I don't have a minimum requirements tab in this one. So I won't be able to show it to you, but basically what would happen is once you click the reassign, that drop down would show anybody in your office that is a project officer for your same program, and you could just reassign that minimum requirements checklist to that other person, to a different project officer. So let me do this. I'm going to, yeah, because I don't have enough people set up, I forgot I needed to set some more people up for this. Let me just see what we can do here. We'll put G30 into another program that has other people in it. Let's just do, we're reassigning applications to a different project officer. So I can go to my Applications tab, and I have one project officer that has it, and I want to reassign it to another project officer. This is the feature you would use, and you would do a find. Now, you want to do just applications before the awards. Make sure that you select the right radio button here. So here's a bunch of applications that are owned by this particular project officer, and you can do them all, or you can pick specific ones that you want to reassign. And then you search to, okay, so I'm going to reassign it. Not only can I reassign it to a different project officer, I can also reassign the program office that it is assigned to. So I can show you that because I have that set up here. I'm just at random selecting one. Let's just put in, I don't know anybody's name. I know Jody Duncan, right? So let's do this. Oh, okay. Here we go. We got a couple of people. So you just pick up who the new person is. Submit. It gives you again, are you sure? It's telling you these two are going to be reassigned to this new person, to Kyle Darton. Do you want to do it? You can either cancel or reassign. And let's see what we have, okay. And reassign. Okay, it is now reassigned. If I look those up again, one of them was Alaska. Okay, so let's see. Wasn't one of those in Alaska? Oh, should have come up here. This is my current one. Do you remember the name in there? Yeah, I didn't pick up who the applicant was in what I just reassigned. So I lost that one. Let's do this again. Oh, you know what I can do though? T-O-N-T-E-N. Trying to remember what his last name was.
You should be able to get it with just a few letters, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know at this point. Yes. At this point, because I reassigned it outside of my program office, I no longer have the ability to look for it. So I'm going to log off. I'm going to log in as the help desk, and I can do it that way myself. So the help desk also has the same feature. If you reassign an award outside of your program office, you will not have access to it to reassign again. Okay. Now, at the help desk, we also have that feature, but we can reassign across agencies. Reassign program officer. I think that's what the person's name was. O. There we go. I spelled his name wrong. So there we go. What was the one that we just reassigned? Yeah, it was Alaska Fisheries Development Foundation, Inc. So I don't know why it didn't come up before, but here it is. That's the one that we just, these last two, these are the ones we just reassigned from G Student 30 to this particular person. All right, what's the next thing on our list? To a different competition on the same RFA. All right, so that is this link right here. Now at this point, I don't have a I don't have an example of an RFA with multiple competitions, so I cannot actually do the reassignment as a demo, but this would be the feature you would use. You would just put in, again, something to search, and it will pull up your applications. You will then select the ones you want to move, and then you select the other competition. You cannot move applications from one RFA to another RFA. You can only move them between competitions in the same RFA. Also, that can only be done before you complete it needs to be done at minimum requirements. Okay? If you do it after that, the system won't allow you to, because there's too many links in the system to other tables. So if you need to move applications between competitions, do it before you complete the minimum requirements checklist. That's the most important thing to remember for that particular feature. All right, reassigning the award file from a PO checklist, okay? We log back off. Log on. I'm going to log back on as a NOAA person again, because I think it'll be easier for me to demo it. I believe I have a PO checklist in here. It's a PO checklist right here. Here is our reassign option. This is actually reassigning ownership. It's not just reassigning the task, but it's taking this entire award file and it's going to reassign this award file to a different person. So you would click on reassign award file, submit, and here's your drop down. This is what you couldn't see when I was logged in as an EDA because I didn't have anybody else set up. But here are all of our student accounts that we have set up under the NOAA side, and you would just pick another person and then just reassign that award file to the other person. Right now, it is G student 00. Let's see which one I'm reassigning so I'll know what to pick up. This project title. This is what I'm going to look at. Okay, so I'm going to reassign it to grant student 12. I'm going to look for that application again. Search applications. I'm going to go with the project title. Search. Here it is. Notice now, it is now assigned to grant student 12. The ownership of that application and that entire award file has now changed. It is not just moving a task. The task will also move as the ownership of the application moves, but that actually reassigns the ownership of the award file and everything that's in it. All right, that was 2C. Let's look at D, reassigning applications and awards after. Okay, so now the minimum requirement step is passed. This is one way to do it. At this point, once it becomes an award, you would use the same feature, except for you would change the radio button from applications to awards. Once it is an award, you can do the same types of reassignments. You go through the same steps, except for on the grants file, where it says program officer and the name of that person. Once you reassign it, it will have the new person's name. So I'm not going to walk through all of those steps just for the sake of time, but it works the same way. All right. Between project officers in the same or different office. Again, I think I showed that to you. Am I logged in? I'm logged in as the NOAA person. So again, let's find something that's currently owned by this person. And we're going to search. I'm going to do application search. Okay. What is going on here? I'm logged in as G student 00, and I thought that we could do it as a project officer, but it may not allow the project officer to do it. Should have been able to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting EDA and NOAA mixed up. I'm logged in the NOAA environment, so I have to use 00. Let's do a search now. All right, there we go. That makes more sense. All right, so here are a bunch of the applications that are assigned to this person. I'm just going to pick up one of them, okay? And I'm going to click one of them, search the user to reassign. Notice I can reassign it across the board. I can reassign it to the same person in a different line office. So if a person has multiple regions or line offices within NOAA on their account, you can move it to yourself, but underneath another region. And this actually happened in EDA. There was someone assigned to one of the field offices, but also they had an account in headquarters, and they were processing an application underneath the wrong line office. We were able to use this feature to reassign it back to themselves, but have it being processed under the same line office. And all they would do at that case would be select whatever the new line office is, the new program office, and then they would put their own name back in here. So they would put their own name, but when the system reassigned it, it would reassign that award file to the correct program office. Again, if they need to switch people, they would just put a new person's name. All right. Between grant specialists and or directors, that's a different feature. That's under the awards tab. And let's see. Because this account that I'm on as does not have a grant specialist role, or grants officer role, I cannot do it. So let me log back off. I have to have a grants officer or director role. Let me do EDA. In order to reassign awards between grant specialists or project officers. Here. And let me just clarify, I said project officers, where because EDA's project officer has both a program officer hat and a grant specialist hat. Grants Online recognizes two different owners of every award. There's a program officer and a grant specialist that owns every award. For the reassignments that we were doing earlier, those were the program side, reassigning the project officer as a program officer. But when we're reassigning a grant specialist on an award, that can only be done by a director or a grant officer. So, again, here it is, under the Applications tab. I was wrong. It's still under the Applications tab. Reassign grant specialist or director on the awards. So again, it works very much the same way. You select what type of a user is. Are you reassigning the grant specialist or a director? You put in the person's name. You select the line office that they're in right now, or where's my training one? Right here. Search. And I'm in EDA, so I need to use 30. Get my numbers straight. All right. So here are the awards that this particular user is signed as a grant specialist, okay, because that's what I have here. So I can just pick up any one of these, reassign to the new person, and you just have to make sure you're using the right feature. That's pretty much it on reassignments. A lot of different reassignments, a lot of different places. We actually have a whole, have we done our reassignment? Is it still in progress, our reassignment manual? Okay. So we are actually working on a manual, a user manual to help you with all of these different types of reassignments. We're getting close to being able to post it. It's not quite ready for prime time, but it should be very soon. So you can look for that on our training page very soon. Are there any questions before we do the let's spend a few more minutes. We're at good time, 3:30. We could spend a few minutes on amendments, but I want to know if there are any questions on reassignments. None? All right. I know you guys are getting a lot of information, so again, feel free to contact us afterwards. Contact the help desk. We're here to provide assistance. Amendments. That's the last section we're going to go over today. So, first item was funded amendments. There are two types of funded amendments. There is our partial funding, also known as release of funds, and then there is your continuation or supplemental amendment. The first one, partial funding, does not have an application as a part of the award file. The partial funding is actually releasing out to the recipient some funds that were planned on the original application, but you didn't give all the money to them on the original application, so now you want to give them some more of the funding that was on the original application. That's a partial funding. The continuation or supplement is when they submit a brand new SF-424, but you associate it with the same award number that you have in there. And then your unfunded amendments would be either administrative amendments started by the project officer, or it could be something that came in as an award action request, and you turn it into an amendment as you're processing it to send it back to be countersigned by the recipient. So we just talked about that, initiated from award action request and administrative amendment. Let's go quickly through these various different types of amendments. We have some time, so I'm going to try to at least start each one of them for you. Funded amendment, partial funding. So I'm going to log off, log back in as my project officer. And I believe I do have an award out here that we can do a partial funding on. So let me look at my EDA awards. Okay, so we have some awards here. Let me look at award that ends in a 5, I believe. That's a good one. Yep. So the application came in for $200,000, but we made an award only for half the amount, for $100,000. So now we want to give them the rest of their funds. How do we do that? We're going to create an amendment starting from the grants file, and we're going to use this feature that says partially fund this award. I'm going to select that, click submit, and before I keep going, I do want to let you know on our training page, there is, under post-award processing, a whole section on partial fundings that is the whole process map here, and here's a separate document just on partial funding, okay? This is step by step, everything that I'm going to do, step by step, screenshot by screenshot of how to go through this process. So I already did this. I found my award. I clicked partially fund this award. So now This is the screen that I should have. And here it is. Okay? So at this point, we're going to click that little plus sign right here so that we can see how much money was on the original award, how much is left for us to use. And we see we do have some funds that are left that we can work with. So we're going to select this application, and it puts a line down at the bottom so that we can physically add in the amount of money that we want to give them. So let's go ahead and give them the rest of the funds that are on this award, okay? So we put some money in here. We put some language in the memo. There's actually a guidance document that NOAA uses, and it's got some standard language here. You can actually just copy and paste one of these examples if you want some standard language. And just put it into this box and then fill in the blanks. This release of funds of $100,000 is for year 2 of a 2-year multi-year award. All required progress and financial reports have been submitted and accepted, and save and start workflow. All right, let's refresh our task box. We now have 2 items here for this award number. We have a procurement request, and then we have the award file that we call review release of funds that we're going to send on over for processing. So let's go ahead and look at our procurement request. It's the exact same procurement request that you have on a new award. Put in the authorizing people. Put in the requester. Go down here, put some money. Notice it picked up the $100,000, so you don't have to fill that in. Put in your funds. And we have in our training site, we do little zeros. Okay, so we have some codes that we use over here in training. We use 99. 00 and 4111. There's our 100,000. Save that. Go ahead and validate it against the data warehouse. Make sure we're using good codes. And something it doesn't like. Let's see what it's not liking. Program for the Bureau and Fund project codes. It doesn't like my project codes. I think that might be what's this one? Try this. There we go. There's no D in the project code. So we got the codes right, but you notice if the codes are not right, and what we're doing is we are comparing what you typed in against a copy of data from the CBS data warehouse. It'll let you know that there's something wrong, and this allows you to make your corrections. All right, here's our line right here on our main screen. We're done. Save and return to main. Forward to the requester, who is me. Wrong task. This task. Approve it. It's gone on to our budget person. Now we have one more task to do here. This task is really nothing else for you to do except for to forward it on to yourself as a grant specialist, but you can't do that until the procurement request workflow has been completed. But that's all there is to release of funds. It just goes on forward and gets processed as a CD 451. and there's no PO checklist, there's no NEPA, there's no GMD checklist. It's very simple to process the release of funds. On the other hand, if you're going to do a continuation and you're going to get a brand new SF-424, then we're going to take one of the ones we have out here on our grants file, and we're going to make it a continuation amendment to one that we have already. So let me go to my RFA, search RFAs, and this is just a quick way for me to find those applications. 2019. This one right here. So we have another application that we can use. I'm going to use this one right here. Normally, what you would be doing, if you need to get another SF-424, you're going to have an RFA for that SF-424 to be attached to. That means you may need to create a non-competitive one so that you can just get the application in from grants.gov. I'm cheating a little bit because I have some applications here that I haven't used, so I'm going to use this one. And the process is going to be the same. It's just that normally you'd be using a different RFA from your original. I'm going to click this. And you'll see where the process varies just a little bit. The minimum requirements part is the same. I'm going to go ahead and start that workflow. And do the minimum requirements. Complete. Approve that. And the next step is where you're going to make this an amendment instead of creating a brand new award. So you have a task that says conduct negotiations. Click on that. All right. This is where you make sure that you have your link to your organization record. We have to pick up our authorized representative. And at the bottom of the screen, instead of generating a brand new award number, we want to associate this application with an existing award. So here are the possible award numbers that are out there for this organization that we can associate it with. So you select one of them. Okay? So now you see it puts that award number here. We've got to get our authorized rep one more time. Should have done the other part first before I did that. Okay. Now, save and return to main. Negotiations complete. I want to look at that grants file just so you can see what it looks like now. So I'm going to navigate back to it. I can either search for the award or I can use this application I just created. I'm going to go down here to the award file in progress and back to the grants file so that you can see what we've done. You see this award file in progress? This is going to become the new amendment to your current grant. If we look at this, notice this one has the application we just added, but it has a PO checklist, it has a NEPA, it has a procurement request. It's got the whole package that you would have in a brand new award versus our partial funding. Let's take a look at the partial funding. That's this one, I believe. See the partial funding one? All we have is a procurement request and the partial funding document, which is just that little memo that we put together. So those are the difference between a partial funded amendment and a continuation. Now again, unfunded amendments, they can be started from an award action request, or you can initiate it on the federal side as an administrative amendment. How much time do we have left? About 15 minutes. All right, so we'll do both. We have time to show you both. I'm going to go in as a recipient. And what password? Yeah, what's going on here? Try it one more time. Hopefully I won't lock myself out. Oh, cap lock is on. That always gets you. There we go. All right, tasks. There are no tasks, but we want to start an award action request. So we have to go to the awards, search awards, see what we have out there. ED19. See what ED19 awards we have. All right, let's pick up 5 that we just worked on a minute ago. This one is still good. So we are going to create an award action request and submit. Now what I want to show you is any of the ones that have an asterisk beside them, they will automatically be turned into an amendment. Anyone that does not have an asterisk, an amendment is optional. So I'm going to try to do 2 so that you can see the difference if I have enough time. Let's start with this change in scope so that you can see what happens.
Hi, Lillian. I just want to jump in real quick.
Yes.
Just to, sorry I dropped off for a little while there, but just for those who are still on the line, an amendment creates the CD 451, and that is required whenever there is an increase in EDA's grant rate, or there is a change in scope, or there is over 10% change in direct costs, or a change to period of performance. Those are the only 4 reasons that we would need to do an amendment to generate a CD 451 in Grants Online. So just wanted to clarify.
Good. Thank you. I'm glad you did. Is that reflected in these asterisks here, what you just said? So this one,
it might be. I haven't checked.
Transfer, no. So you mentioned a couple others that don't actually have an asterisk. Tell me one of them that you just mentioned.
Increase to the EDA grant rate, so that's a budget change.
Would that be other, or would that be
other?
That would be an other. Okay, so I'm going to do an other.
It might be. I'm not positive on that. It might be. It might be different depending on every award.
Okay, I'm going to do an other. I'm going to cancel off of this. I'm going to create an award action request. And I'm going to do an other because an other is not forced to be amendment, and I'm going to show you how to make it into an amendment. So if they submit something that's an other, EDA budget change, justification, okay, save and stop workflow, okay. All right, we've got to submit it to the agency. Now I have to log off and log in as a project officer. Here are my tasks, and here's an award action request right here on Amendment 5 that we just chose. You need to look at it. Here are your details. It's locked, but here's your other award action request. All right. Now, with your program officer hat, you cannot change it to the amendment yet. You have to first forward to yourself as the grant specialist. And once you've done that, you've got a new task to review it with your grant specialist hat on. All right? You see the very first option? Create a corresponding amendment. If you choose either of the top two options, it will create your CD 451. Otherwise, it will remain as an award action request, and there will be no CD 451 created on that one. So let me just go ahead and select the top option, create a corresponding amendment, and submit. All right, so now we have a new task. Instead of review award action request, it is now review amendment, and we have an amendment in progress. All right, so now we can look at the details. You have your CD 451. Here's your CD 451, and you'll just start filling that information out. There's not going to be any add or deduct. It's an administrative amendment, but you just put in your start and end dates here. You don't have to put nothing here. Never use these dates unless you're actually changing the date on the overall award. Otherwise, you don't want to use those, just these dates here for the amendment. Okay, once you get that filled out, let me just, I'll go ahead and put something here. Today is 5. 08 to 019. I forgot what the end date of the award was, but let me just say 09, 30. Let's see what's the award. Let me do this. I'm going to save and return to main. What is the, should have seen what the date on the award was. I've got to go back now here to the award action request, and I'm sorry, the award file in progress. Here we go, 5:30. All right, so I should have used 5:30. So let me go back to our amendment and make it 5:30 on the date. All right, 5:08 to 5:30. Because you cannot extend the date using that again. You cannot extend the date of the project using this line. You have to put it here if you want to extend the date. We're not doing that right now. So, if you want to put in some specific award conditions, you can put those in here, or you can attach whatever you normally attach. If you want to do it as attachment, you would use this link. Let me just click save right here. You would use this link to put in your reasons for the amendment. Okay, it'll come in with whatever the recipient put it on, and then you can modify the language to make it whatever you want it to be. Save and return to main. And you've got an amendment to just now forward for your review to go ahead and process it as a CD 451. Okay, let me just show you one more thing as a project officer. Let's go back to our grant. And just from the grant page, if you want to initiate any kind of administrative amendment, you can do it right there from the grants file page. You come to the grants file, create administrative amendment, submit, and then here's your CD 451, and you can fill that out as needed. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have on the agenda. Are there any amendment questions? Anything? You don't see anything? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That is the agenda for today. It was a lot of information we covered. Again, we do have most of this information in various manuals. But if you can't find it, just feel free to contact the help desk, and they will direct you to where you need to go to find the information you need. And if there's no manual, they will indeed help you, walk you through the process. So I do appreciate you joining us to make us. Bernadette, anything you'd like to say?
No, I think that this covered a lot, like you said, and we want to make this available to people, for those who maybe want to revisit some of the things we went over today, and those who weren't able to participate. We'll make sure that they get this information. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. So tomorrow's webinar for the grantees are going to cover pretty much the same subjects, but it's going to be from their point of view. So we're not going to be talking about a lot of the internal processing that we do, more for how do they start different actions and what it looks like on a grants file. Okay?
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Lillian.
Have a good evening, and we will go ahead and end our webinar for today. Bye-bye.